One of the challenges that we face as the church today is that we have to balance all of our lives between God and country, and trying to figure out that relationship as it relates to the geopolitical scenes and landscapes of where we live. And the greatest challenge becomes, are we Christian first in our response to needs, in our response to our community, or are we Americans first, responding to the call and the patriotism of being blessed to live in the United States?
Particularly people of either the Judaic or Christian tradition, that there's some strong teachings about welcoming the stranger in our midst, and that Jesus particularly went out of his way to walk through Samaria, a place, they were considered foreigners, they were considered idolatrous, and he went out of his way to welcome folks who were outcasts. So I think it's good to remember, which kingdom we really want to be part of.
For those of us at John Wesley, it's basically trying to meet the needs of people who are in need, regardless of what their race is, and to look for an opportunity to serve a wider community. It's part of our mission.
We feel called as a mission of our church is to help those who are underserved, underrepresented, that we feel it's our mission to speak to those who don't have a voice and don't have a place. And we feel by providing a place, providing a sanctuary for the laborers, that we're doing God's will.
I was a working actor in New York. I had no idea about liberation theology. The Bible really didn't matter to me. I thought it should, and considered myself a Christian, but I was really detached from that, and I came down to Mexico and heard the testimony of people who had escaped the wars in Central America, and I began to hear one about the church as an agent of change, positive social change, and I saw how people were on fire with that, and I began to hear the Bible read from below, and I saw how it could be incredibly empowering, and it became relevant to me. It had never been relevant to me before.
It began with the developing series in Sunday school of dealing with the hot button issues that young Christians face today. We talked about the issues involving sexual orientation in the church. We talked about issues of poverty. We talked about issues of child abuse that goes on in the community. We talked about education issues, and one of the topics that just happened to be coming down the line was about 2 weeks to 3 weeks divided into illegal immigration. And as that was unfolding, one of the messages and sermon series that I was being led to work on was thinking about our church from a radical hospitality perspective, how to reach out beyond our walls and beyond our community. And so that study for me was really being focused on the Peter story, and how God was convincing him that it was okay to go to what we thought was unclean, what we thought was unacceptable. It was okay because everything God made was good. And so that Peter experience was going on, and I kept getting further into that and not really preaching on it, but that was the core center for my beginning to understand what radical hospitality meant. And then, as I'm dealing with, the whole issue of illegal immigration and, agreeing that, it's a problem for our country, that it is something that we all have to work on because it's not working now. The message became clear that this was an opportunity to help people who were getting caught up in this. The initial response and feeling is probably that of most people is, they're raiding a plant, they're putting them on buses, they're sending them home. That isn't so bad. We're getting the problem under control. Employers do not need to be hiring illegal immigrants into their plants, taking jobs away from local people, American citizens. So all that was brewing from my political side and background. At the same time that God is telling me that, wait a minute, everything I've made is okay. Everything I've done is fine. And then I got into, when we broke down the situation of illegal immigration, in our study, we went back and looked at the Old Testament and looked at the law of Moses and looked at how God told his people to treat the aliens among us. And we realized quickly that God did not differentiate between an illegal alien or a legal alien among them, that it was God's world, His creation, and there would be people who would come in your midst who were not from there anymore. And this is how we treat them. And so it became obvious to us in the study that these, regardless of how they came to be here, they are here, and they're part of all of God's creation. They're a part of people that God cares for, so don't we have to respond to them just like anyone else as a brother and sister in Christ? They are part of what makes up God's earth and His people in it. So it became a real challenging point to us. And then we got talking about how Jesus treated the lady at the well. And look beyond the fact that she was Samaritan and she wasn't, and he wasn't supposed to be where she was, and they weren't supposed to be talking, and got beyond that whole moment to deal with her issues, where she was and how her life was going. And all of that was going on at the same time, and it was just become an awakening to me, to our young adults in our class, to several in our congregation, that, these people are among us, they're children of God, they should be treated just like everyone else, and we should recognize their needs just like we would anybody else living in our communities around us who look like us, talk like us, act like us.
You need to consider that we are part of an entire community, that some of the things that we take for granted as citizens of this country, all the opportunities that we have, we can help extend to others. We need to take a look as a society, not only of this country, but of North America and Central America, so that we can do what is best for all of us together. I would really like to see that happen, and as part of a comprehensive immigration discussion.